Muy buenas tardes, es un honor para el ITAM y en especial para el periódico El Supuesto tener aquí con nosotros al Dr. Craig Calhoun, presidente de la London School of Economics and Political Science. Mi nombre es Isaí Contreras.
Hola, mi nombre es Anela Oribio.
Y vamos a empezar con una pequeña entrevista al Dr. Calhoun. Thank you, Mr. Calhoun.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be at ITAM.
Okay. Three little questions. The first one is, it's so clear that there are a lot of differences between Mexico and the UK. Moreover, these significant differences, Mexican and British universities are pretty different too. What do you find to be the most significant difference between ITAM university system in comparison with the LSE one?
I would stress first, there are differences, but there are a lot of similarities too. And with ITAM and LSE in particular, as institutions stressing the benefit to society from business, from public administration, from law, and some very core fields that we share. But what are some differences? The LSE is extremely global. The majority of its students are not British. They come from all over the world. 69% of our students are coming from other countries. And part of the educational experience is to interact with all these students from all over. A second difference is that the LSE is in fact a public university. But I think there is a kind of gray area because we are not funded mainly by the government, but technically we are still a public university linked to the state and subject to state regulation to a much greater degree. So in some ways, ITAM has a kind of freedom in that regard as a private university, though different financing, of course, that comes with it. And I think the third thing is that the LSE has a different combination of fields. So we have the same core, but we have more of the other social sciences as well, international relations, sociology, anthropology, and so forth. But we do not have engineering, which ITAM has. So many similarities, some differences.
Okay, so LSE is a global university. Actually, there are many exchange programs for its students because the university believes that the global vision in its alumni is a very important part of their training.
Yes.
According with the 2011 to 2016 vision of the London School, what academic benefit does LSE seek to obtain with this partnership between ITAM and LSE?
Great. So we hope this partnership will grow bigger. Already we benefit from the visits of these students from ITAM in the summer, but what we would hope is that we can collaborate as partners, perhaps eventually in double degree programs where students will study at each university but get degrees from both universities. That perhaps 2 years, something like this. We hope that there will be research collaboration among the faculty members and postgraduate students at the two universities. We hope that we will learn more about a Mexican perspective on globalization, because it's our view that globalization is not the same thing happening everywhere in exactly the same way, that it's connections among different economies, different countries politically and so forth. And so it looks a bit different if you're sitting in Mexico City, or you're sitting in Shanghai, or you're sitting in Cape Town, or you're sitting in London. And we want our students and our researchers to be able to see globalization from each of these perspectives. And for us, ITAM is the best partner to try to build a growing Mexican perspective into our sense of globalization. Finally, we work together, and I hope we'll work together more, on executive education and relationships with leading public and private sector firms and organizations. And we hope we will not only provide advice, but benefit from learning, for example, about the implementation of the new reforms in Mexico.
Okay. So going further with the relationship between Mexico and the UK, what do you consider to be the most important advances in LSE-ITAM relation in the last 2 years regarding the summer program opened recently?
Yes. Well, the summer program is the biggest advance in ITAM-LSE relationships, and we're very pleased about it. I have a goal that we will also have some students coming from London to ITAM, that it will not only be students from ITAM coming to LSE, but going both ways. And I hope that that will come in the future.
Okay.
Okay, now it's my turn.
Please.
Like we already made clear, a university needs to go worldwide, right? So how has LSE developed for its students to make a way through the globalization challenges?
So, great question, because we think this is at the heart of the education in the fields that ITAM and LSE share. First, LSE became global by bringing students from all over the world, and that changes the teaching, because you learn as much from your fellow students as from the teacher. You know, we professors like to think we are the most important thing all the time, but in fact, if you have a seminar on global finance, and all the students come from the same country, you don't learn as much about global finance as if you have a student from China, a student from India, a student from South Africa, a student from US, a student from UK, a student from Mexico. And they ask different questions. And then the discussion, even the input from the teacher, gets better because the questions from the different students make sure different topics are covered. So that's a very important part of globalization. But there's a limit on how much you can do that only by bringing others to London. And so for us, the next steps are to build partnerships. We have partnerships in Beijing and Shanghai and China. We have partnership in Mumbai. We have partnership in South Africa. We have partnerships in the US. And building these partnerships creates the opportunity for students from different places and researchers and faculty from different places to collaborate in developing a better understanding of these global issues and the different contexts in which they play out in different national economies. Finally, and for us, one of the new features of this we're focusing on is not only to study subjects like economics or politics, but to try to bring people together to study the big problems that societies face. So, you know, in Mexico, energy reform, climate change all over the world, obviously not just here, but Mexico has a pioneering climate change law. So to study what happens with the implementation of that law, which connects the atmospheric or the oceanic climate change to politics, economics, public policy. This is very exciting for us. And so we're trying to create more opportunities for students and faculty to work together focused on problems, not just focused on academic disciplines.
Sounds like a very successful work. And how about, what do you think about the new challenges for the universities that are trying to consolidate their education systems, especially in Latin America?
There are lots of challenges for all of us all around the world, ranging from having enough resources and to learning how to operate globally. So for ITAM, for LSE, but for all the others, there's now a more international market for faculty members, for example, who will go in different places. There are the questions of language competence and how that affects. You know, I have this privilege or curse of English as a native language, which is something that many benefit from in the world, but it also can cut you off in certain ways, and there are different versions of that. Latin America, in particular, is now emerging as a much more global part of a much more globalized economy and a set of connections in the world. And so the higher education to match this. So what are the issues that are special to Latin America in this? Latin American higher education systems have been very nationally divided. There have been things like Fluxo and trying to create a Latin American faculty in social science, but the politics of the countries have separated. Now integrating and creating greater links. So links that link Mexico to Chile or to Colombia or other places are very important priorities, I would say, for the Latin American community. Publishing and being able to circulate the materials of knowledge effectively throughout the Spanish language region is a big priority and a challenge. Using the internet and all of the opportunities new technology provides effectively to do some of that, big challenge. Connecting students from different parts of the region more effectively. The tradition is, if you're a Brazilian, you go to France. Well, why not Mexico? And you know, the need for more lateral connections inside the region as well as between the region and other regions should, it seems to me, be a priority.
Sounds like a real challenge, right?
It's a real challenge, but it's a challenge that's meetable. The other side of the challenge is it's very exciting to do these things.
Yeah. Well, my last question is, the relationship between our countries started in the 19th century. So, which do you think are the most important elements that keep this relationship alive?
Relationship is really about people, and the institutions and the markets and all of this follow. In this particular case, as you say, the relationship is old, but it has grown enormously since the middle of the 20th century. And that applies to educational relationships. So, the birth of ITAM after World War II is, a sign. This is a point. Mexico's economy has in a way had a history of 2 steps forward, 1 step backward kind of growth in this.
Yeah.
And this creates a challenge because that keeps rupturing some of the relationships that are made. Now, what is making this working so effectively now, and I think it is getting more effective? One, the British government has decided to make a commitment to the relationship with Mexico that affects all of British higher education and other institutions as well, recognizing the importance of Mexico in the global economy. So the other side of that is Mexico, which will be probably the 5th largest economy in the world very soon, is clearly in need of a set of international relationships as markets. So I'm impressed by the fact that Mexico does almost as much foreign direct investment outward as it receives inward.
Yeah.
And that this is not an accident. This is actually an important part of development for Mexico. And that then is matched by higher education and other kinds of links. Media is a big factor in this. Both Mexico and the United Kingdom are centers of cultural industries. It's sometimes forgotten because in Mexico you can think, oh, we just do oil. And in the United Kingdom you think, oh, we just do finance or something like that. But it's not true, right? Mexico is producing TV that is seen especially throughout the Spanish language world, but even beyond. And the UK is a cultural center in the same way with television, but also with arts and museums and all of this. And I think that this is a commonality that the countries can build on in this context. Finally, of course, you can recognize my accent is neither Mexican nor British. But one of the things that I think connects the countries is the desire to have a balance of relationships, not only to the north, but to the rest of the world. And for Mexico, it's important to be connected not only to the United States, but to a range of global partners.
Yeah, so I mean, 2015 is going to be the year of UK here in Mexico and vice versa.
Yep.
So we are more than excited to get closer.
Yeah.
Great.
to you guys, so.
Well, come visit us, and I'll come visit you.
Perfect. Sounds great. Well.
Okay. Bueno, damos por concluida la entrevista al Dr. Craig Calhoun. Thanks, Mr. Calhoun, for this interview.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, Mr. Calhoun.